Welcome to the 2024 WNBA Draft. It is about to begin. I will only be here for the first 12 selections. My co-host Joey might join, but Caitlin Clark's probably going to go number one. And Angel Reese, Cameron Brink. I will provide first-round coverage of the WNBA Draft. And it's on ESPN. So go, if you have ESPN, tune into ESPN. I've watched a little bit more women's basketball this year compared to previous years, but I'm not an expert in this subject. So I'm just going to say that, and I hope you enjoy the live stream. Yeah, Caitlin Clark should go number one, but there's been some trolling today by FanDuel. Obviously, FanDuel's just trying to cause shenanigans. So, I mean, you got Angel Reese, you got Cameron Brink, you've got Caitlin Clark. You have a lot of star power. I think the last draft that may have had this much star power is 2013, when you had Elena Del Don, Skylar Diggins, and Brittany Griner. But even that class, the star power in this class trumps that class, which is crazy to think, crazy to comprehend that that is what you're going to be getting. And so it looks like the Indiana Fever are on the clock. We'll see what happens here when this happens. I don't know. I muted my TV. I muted my TV because I don't want to get hit with a copyright strike. That's mainly, I am watching, but I don't know what the commissioner is saying at the podium. Okay. All right, so it's official. The Fever are officially on the clock. How much time does each team get to pick? Aaliyah Boston went number one last year to the Indiana Fever. She did well as a rookie. Now you're going to have Caitlin Clark with her, and you got Kelsey Mitchell, Nalissa Smith, Erica Wheeler, top four scorers back, very young team. And you add Caitlin Clark to that group, and this is going to be one of the teams to keep an eye on moving forward, because they have the pieces. If Clark can come out of the gate and dominate, we don't know if Clark's going to come out of the gate and dominate the WNBA, but if she can, if she plays as good as she did in college basketball, then there's a very good chance the Indiana Fever will be the challenger. Okay, so there's not even a timer. The pick is in, and yeah, it's going to be Caitlin Clark. This is no surprise. And I already have the write-up typed up for Caitlin Clark for anybody. We'll go straight to that once the pick is announced. Yep, no surprises so far. And Fever, you got Kelsey Mitchell, Erica Wheeler, Aaliyah Boston, Nalissa Smith, but Caitlin Clark, she might be the biggest name to enter this class since Taurasi. And yes, these numbers are correct. 26.6, 27, No surprises so far. 31.6. Only 3 players won the WNBA Finals by their third year in the league. Sue Bird, Maya Moore, Brianna Stewart. Can Clark continue that trend? And Clark, she can shoot it from short, mid-range, long range, defend everywhere on the court. 2-time Naismith Player of the Year. I do believe the LA Sparks take Cameron Brink, but until it's officially official, I will refrain from and if it's not official, well, I will have to retype the pick in. So, let's load up the WNBA mock draft webpage. And I'm only doing the first round, guys. I'm only posting write-ups for the first 12 picks. I'll watch round 2 for fun, especially if somebody that I don't have, especially if somebody I have a first round grade on falls to the second round. But I will be live streaming for fun at that point. I will not be watching the draft. But yeah, Caitlin Clark goes number 1. No surprises so far. And I think second number 1 pick from the Big Ten since Janelle McCarville. I believe Cameron Brink will go second, but it's not officially official yet. But once it becomes officially official, we'll have a much better idea of what's going to happen here. And I am going to check Twitter because they do leak the picks sometimes. Yep, they do. People leak the picks. Lincoln Anthony Blades is tweeting that Cameron Brink is the number 2 pick. But I don't think it's officially official until so I am following some people that were kind enough to follow me on Twitter. It sounds like Cameron Brink is going to be the number 2 pick. No surprises, though. We have 30 people in the live stream. Damn. 31 on Twitter, 5 on YouTube, 4 on Facebook, 1 on Twitch. Wow. Thank you guys so much. But Caitlin Clark, no surprises yet. I think the Indiana Fever make the playoffs. Can they win a series? I think that depends a lot based on how the rest of the night goes. Honestly, I think it's too early to say. It really does depend on what players come away with premium talents. And you see Caitlin Clark getting drafted. And I think Holly Rowe's about to interview Caitlin Clark's coach, Lisa Mulder. Is that her name? I don't know. If you know the Iowa women's head coach, please type it in the comments section of the chat room. Okay, we got somebody here in the... Hey, Cameron Brink should be next. I agree. Yeah, so, there is actually a few... Lisa Bluter. Yeah, Bluter is who I was thinking of. Yes, Bluter. That's right. But again, looking at the Sparks, they are my favorite team. The Sparks have always had a star player. I mean, from 97 to 2009, they had Lisa Leslie. From 2008 to 2020, they had Candace Parker. And then from 2012 to 2023, Nneka Ogwumike. The LA Sparks have always had a star player, and it just feels, for the first time in 25 years, it's a complete rebuild from the ground up with the LA Sparks. And that's the big thing that stands out with the Sparks is this, for the first time, this is a complete tear down, and we're going to build this team back from the ground up type of rebuild. And I think that's the thing that makes the LA Sparks so fascinating. Caitlin Clark went number 1. The Sparks are on the clock. The pick is expected to be Cameron Brink based on what people have been leaking on Twitter, but it is not official yet. And the pick has not been turned in.
Well, it used to be great to leak it on Twitter because it used to work. It used to be accurate. Not as much anymore. We see a lot of people be wrong on Twitter. But back to the Caitlin Clark, is anybody actually shocked at this?
Nobody's surprised.
I mean, come on.
We've been talking about Caitlin Clark on this podcast for what feels like over a year now. It feels like 2 years. I know we first mentioned her in the women's Final Four last year when Iowa beat undefeated South Carolina, but it feels like with the buzz she's generated, it feels like we've talked about her for 2 full years, even if it's only 1 calendar year.
Caitlin Clark feels like the WNBA's version of Larry Bird.
That's basically what Jim Nagy said. It's interesting.
Yeah, over 2 years, 3 years, the buzz she's created, and everything's like,
and
she takes the WNBA to the next level? Now that's the question. But the buzz is the buzz of the next big thing.
It's interesting because Jim Nagy compared Angel Reese to Magic Johnson and Caitlin Clark to Larry Bird. And it really does feel like Clark, at least, is the Larry Bird of the WNBA, but it's too early to be seen. Johnny Sports Network asks, what do you like about being Draft Utopia? Well, we cover all the drafts. NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB, MLS, and this is the first WNBA draft we're covering, and we prepared for it. We recoded all the WNBA web pages because we knew this was going to be the big signature draft for over a year now. Because I was thinking, is Clark in the 2023 draft? No, she's in 2024, so we prepared.
Talking about this draft for like 2.5, 3 years. This is the draft we've been looking at to change the landscape of the WNBA. Okay, so guys, it may not have been every week like, say, the NFL or the NBA, but this has been something we've been talking about for a while. If this turns out the way we think it is, especially it turns out if Caitlin Clark and Angel turn out in the different divisions, not different divisions,
different conferences. Well, actually, in the WNBA, 2 teams in the same conference can meet in the finals. 2 teams.
If they end up in different conferences, this could be a Larry Bird, Magic Johnson type watershed for the WNBA, and that's what the WNBA has been looking for.
Yeah.
Because remember, when Magic and Larry came into the NBA, those pain addictions, okay, take delays. People thinking the league was too much one way or the other racially.
The LA Sparks pick is in.
You've got everything right here. You've got everything ready to explode, and you've got the talent to do it.
Cameron Brink goes number 2 overall. No surprises so far. So Cameron Brink. Yeah, I 2 A+ so far. I think Brink, she was the defensive player of the year in women's basketball. LA Sparks were bottom 4-5 in defense. They had all their starters average double-digit points per game. Offensively, the team was competitive, but defensively, they had their small forward playing center. Now you lose Nneka Ogwumike, who led your team in points scored and rebounds, and you bring in Cameron Brink. There may be somewhat of a transition period for Brink offensively, but I think defensively her impact will be felt right out of the gate.
Yeah, look, this is no surprise. None. Zero. I know on last Saturday I made arguments, but there are arguments to be made. But that doesn't mean me playing devil's advocate is going to change this outlook. This was a 100% no-brainer. No shock value. In fact, it's one of the people, I think I named 3 people on last week's podcast that would have also said this, but that would have been more of a surprise if those picks would have happened than this. This is a player that is a very good defensive player, a good offensive player, has room to grow as an offensive player, and is an aggressive player. And the only problem you or I, either one, had was, look, she had a problem with being too aggressive.
Yeah, she got into foul trouble in the round of 32, and her team lost against NC State.
Now you're in the WNBA, a league controlled by the NBA, that is as soft as literally I got into an argument with, not quite an argument, but with a coworker that said, guys in the 80s and 90s were playing against farmers. And I told him I wish I was a farmer back in the 80s and 90s because I would have been paid a hell of a lot of money and would have been damn good at my job. And he had no comeback for that. But she is of that mold of NBA player, but in an era with women can get injured easier than men when it comes to blunt force, and a league that's controlled mainly by the NBA, because let's face it, they're subsidized by the NBA. They have been since their inception. The NBA gave them the fucking league. Okay? So the NBA is going soft. So the WNBA is going to grow soft. Just by association. How I may love her play, Chris may love her play. Will WNBA officials love her play? She's going to have a transition.
And that's the thing. I love the LA Sparks, but this team's had a star player for 25 years. This literally feels like the first time where we've done a rebuild through the ground up. No Leslie, no Candace Parker, no Nneka Ogwumike. This is a complete rebuild from the ground up. Now, you do have...
And that's not bad thing. Like, if you're a stable franchise and know what you're doing, that's not a bad thing.
I think the Sparks can make the playoffs, but that's only because the league is 12 teams and 8 teams make the playoffs. I don't know how far they would go if they were to get in. I think whether they get in depends on who they take it for. I mean, there's been a lot of traction about, I expect Rickea Jackson to go third, but Camila Cardoso, the South Carolina center, has generated a ton of buzz and traction. And if the Sky are not confident in their center, Elizabeth Williams, who is 6th all-time in blocks in the WNBA from the 2015 draft, Chicago's her 3rd different team. If they're not confident in her, they could take Cardoso at 3. I do expect Rickea Jackson to come off the board here, Joey, but if the Sky are not confident in Elizabeth Williams as the long-term answer, they could use Cardoso as a bench player this year and develop her while Williams is the stopgap. But I'm expecting Rickea Jackson to come off the board here. I'm sure you're also expecting Rickea Jackson to go 3rd. I mean, the drama's got to begin at some point, right? So maybe it'll begin here. We're about to find out. The Sky's pick is in. And the pick is Camila Cardoso. So the traction for Camila Cardoso, because ESPN changed their mock draft last minute from Rickea Jackson to Camila Cardoso. They moved her up to 3 after the championship. So clearly ESPN W team or whoever's covering the WNBA draft for ESPN had some intel. I mean, what do you think of this pick? I mean, I think this can work, but you have two really good you have a really good shot blocker in Elizabeth Williams, but she's not a consistent scorer, whereas you have Cardoso coming in learning under her. What are your thoughts on this situation, Joey? I mean, she left Chattanooga to go to Tennessee to play professional basketball. She's going to go to Chicago, and she's going to be playing under Elizabeth Williams. So I'm not sure. She'll probably start out off the bench, but she could work her way into a regular starting role if Elizabeth Williams continues to average under 10 points a game. But now you have Elizabeth Williams and you have Camila Cardoso, two centers with a dominant shot blocking presence. So even if one gets in foul trouble, you got to deal with the other. And that can be very dangerous as far as execution goes. I like the pick. I like Cardoso, but at the same time, the Chicago Fire only have one starter that's averaging over 10 points a game. If Cardoso can't beat out Elizabeth Williams for playing time in that starting center job, you essentially let Rickea Jackson slip. And what are the Sparks going to do now? Because I mocked Cardoso at 4. Are they going to go Angel Reese or are they going to go Rickea Jackson? Because they already have a good small forward. I think that's really where this gets interesting, Joey, because Cardoso is the 3rd pick in the draft. So I do think that is an interesting storyline. I'm guessing your phone disconnected. I'm guessing Joey had to go.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's like, I'm not sure how much longer I'll be on because I feel like the lowest level turd in a turd king contest here. Like, I feel like Shaqford right now.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd get through the top 5.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to give you my analysis as much as I can, as long as I can.
But it's an interesting situation with Chicago at 3 because you have Elizabeth Williams, a veteran center who's 6th all time in the blocks in the WNBA, and you draft Cardoso at 3. And you only have one double-digit scorer. Williams is a great defender, but she's not a good scorer. I think the thought process from Chicago is Cardoso might be a better scorer than Williams, but she's raw. And Williams is going to be that stopgap to ease her in and bring her along.
Here's my advice. I hate to bring this team up again because I bring them up so damn often. You know what? The 86 Celtics.
Rickea Jackson. Rickea Jackson's heading to LA. So not only did LA get Brink, they got Rickea Jackson to pair with Brink.
So there's really no argument against taking her in this situation. Because historically speaking, if you know, because I'm sorry, I swear by a team that's 40 years in the past, Well, guess what? That team 40 years in the past was better than the teams that are put together now. So I won't swear by it. But if you think about it, what problem is there with having too much of a good thing? What? You got an ego problem? Get a better coach. Get a coach that can do what he does. Now, the Jacy Sheldon and Pat Riley, I mean, may not be there at that level these days, but at the same time, they're out there. They can deal with these egos. You know, Chuck Daly may not be floating around here, but he's got Chuck Daly. Not only did he have more Pistons, but he go with Team USA, the Dream Team, 92. Guys, there's no such thing as too many great players. There may be a thing as a coach that can't deal with the personality. Now that's the thing. But don't just skip on a good player because you think, oh my God, that I might have 5 draft players. It's like, man, these players might not come in for another 5 drafts.
Well, Rickea Jackson's going to head to the LA Sparks to pair with Cameron Brink. And I don't think LA Sparks could have gone wrong at 4. They were in a great spot. They were going to get Cardoso if she went. Cardoso went 3rd, so they were going to get Rickea Jackson or Angel Reese at 4. And the Sparks choose to go with Rickea Jackson. And Rickea Jackson's going to be playing with Cameron Brink in that front court.
That's a really good. That's a really good pick. Is that because something that the NBA doesn't do anymore that I want to crucify them for. Like they're like, oh, we need small forward, shooting guard, and point guard. Well, what about power forward and center? Oh, we throw those anytime. It's like we can't do. And there's all we can't do pick and roll and all that stuff, and we're all thinking on like, motherfucker, if you get a good mid-range shooter, if you get 2 good mid-range shooters and that is good on the block, you can hit those 2 on there, like sitting there on the block, free throw line, triangle that out there, and then if you have a shooting guard or small forward that can rotate around that, they can hit the mid-range shot. Like, you're going to have a wide open shot. You're guaranteed 2 points. Like, why is this so difficult? You're guaranteed 2 points into a 60% shooting, or you're going on a 3-point for 40% shooting, and if you get an extra point. I don't get it. I think this are looking at a good strategy by taking the center and the power forward, because if you get that triangle,
well, they are Azuris.
One of the girls that can shoot from mid-range, you can triangle that thing in and out with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you can got 3 people who triangle that thing in and out. You're going to get a mismatch at some point. I can guarantee you, because that's what the game of mismatching. And right now, basketball has limited mismatching.
Well, the LA Sparks are in an interesting spot because they got Azura Stevens. She played center last year. She's a small forward. She's a natural small forward, but she played center last year, Azura Stevens. Now you add Cameron Brink, who can play small forward, power forward, center, and then you add a true small forward in Rickea Jackson, who shoots like a shooting guard. So, I mean, that's a really good 3 to build around at center and both forward spots. And then you've got the guards that average double-digit points a game off the bench.
Did that better than any other franchise.
Lakers and Celtics?
The Boston Celtics in the 80s. No, the Boston Celtics in the 80s. And the Bulls in the 90s. The Bulls in the 90s. Okay? The Celtics in the 80s and Bulls in the 90s. They can move the ball. And they had everybody, even Dennis Rodman, everybody says Rodman couldn't shoot. Rodman was a dang good shooter. Rodman refused to shoot. He didn't want to shoot, but when he shot, he still more of a chance of hitting the shot than he did of missing the shot. But he wanted to pass. He wanted to rebound. And that's what the Bulls did. Same thing as the Celtics. A lot of people don't remember Dennis Johnson, 1979, Yellow Supersonics, NBA Finals MVP, Dennis Johnson. He played for the Celtics.
The Dallas Wings pick is in. Dallas Wings pick is in. I don't know who the Dallas Wings are selecting at 5, but their pick is in. It's Her Hoop Stats is reporting that.
Say that you didn't know. I mean, I'm sad now. I'm sad. I've got a few tears running down. Not really, but it's thought process-wise. Yeah.
Well, Jacy Sheldon, the player I mocked at number 5 to Dallas Wings, ends up going number 5, but I changed my mock because Lisa got a tip that Angel Reese was going to go in the top 5, and I put too much stock into that. So I screwed up my own mock. So I had Jacy Sheldon at 5, but I ended up changing my mock at the last minute. So I ended up being wrong on the pick. But yeah, Jacy Sheldon's a great fit for Dallas. She's probably my favorite defender in this draft outside of Cameron Brink. She's a really good defender for a point guard. And
well, I'm gonna go back to my previous rant. It's like Dennis Johnson was the only guard outside of Kobe Bryant to make 9 all defensive teams, all NBA first teams as a guard. So my thought is, if she is that good, if she is as good as you think she is as a guard, all she has to do is hit the open shots in the clutch shot.
She does hit the open shots in the clutch. She averaged 17.8 points a game as a senior, and she can hit from short range, mid range, long range. And Dallas Wings already have a superstar guard that averages 22.1 points a game. So Sheldon's not coming in as the lead guard, but the complementary guard for this offense, which is one complementary guard away from filling out their starting 5. This is a team that got to the Western Conference Finals last year, only to get swept by the Aces. They just got their ringer. They just got their missing piece to maybe push the Aces to 4 or 5 games. I don't think they're talented enough or experienced enough to beat Becky Hammond and the Aces yet, but I do think the Dallas Wings are positioning themselves as the team to beat in the Western Conference in 2025 when all of the Aces starters are free agents.
If you have listened to me, it's like, what do I reckon? The Lakers of the 80s, the Celtics of the 80s, the Sonics of the 70s. It's like, doesn't this feel like the renaissance that we've been waiting for the WNBA? Because I reckon this is what this feels. It feels like the 79 Sonics. It feels like the 78 Celtics. It feels like the 86 Celtics. It feels like the freaking, it feels like it's the same renaissance that took place in the NBA in the late 70s, in the 80s. Don't it? Just because I've been able to draw so many comparisons, doesn't it seem that way?
It does. It feels like the WNBA, there could be a resurgence. I still think the Aces are the team to beat next year, but I think the Dallas Wings are positioning themselves because with the Aces.
Because the WNBA hasn't had a surgeon.
The reason I say that is because, the pick is in. I would love to talk about the history of the NBA, but the Mystics pick is in at number 6, and we got to talk about what the Mystics are going to do. I feel like they're going to get a point guard. I think Angel Reese is probably coming off the board here, but if she doesn't, we could see Angel Reese take a free fall because there's a lot of teams after the Minnesota Lynx at 8.
I don't think Angel Reese free fall.
I don't either.
Even if just here, I don't see her free falling. There's too much talent there. Now, on the same token,
here's the thing with the WNBA, Joey. 2 teams that meet in the same conference can meet in the WNBA finals because the playoff seedings are based off of regular season records. So if Angel Reese's team and Caitlin Clark's team have the 2 best records in the regular season, those teams can meet in the WNBA finals as long as Reese and Clark handle business in the playoffs, even if the teams are in the same conference. So,
yeah, because Reese and Clark just seem to me like, I've been telling you about Angel Reese for 3 years. You've been telling me about Caitlin Clark. It's like these 2 are destined to hit head-to-head, nose-to-nose. It just feels like you are destined to be the 2 people who lead this league into the next winning. And I'd be sorely disappointed if a general manager just waves their hands up. Because remember, Magic Johnson may have been a top 5 pick. Larry Bird was number 6 in the draft before.
Aaliyah Edwards is the 6th pick in the draft, our first surprise of the draft. Now, Aaliyah Edwards, a lot of people had her going in the top 5, but here's the thing. She's a great defender. She's not a very good 3-point shooter. That's the big knock on Aaliyah Edwards.
I'm not, it's like one of the things I get beaten up on, that I'm not a huge proponent of that. They're not a great 3-point shooter. Like, well, motherfucker, Michael Jordan and Larry Bird were around 40% 3-point shooters. 3-point shooting ain't the end-all be-all, okay? Despite what my coworker would tell me, which he got rebuffed by me and another female that plays basketball. But, it's like 3-point shooting is the end-all be-all. Especially in the WNBA where, let's say, WNBA is better fundamentally, better overall when it comes to the shooting. They shoot better from mid-range. They shoot better. Yeah, they drive better. They don't palm the ball every freaking time they.
And Aaliyah Edwards had 18 double-doubles, and she.
For younger fans, Chris, I feel like I need to explain the rules because our younger fans may not know what I'm talking about. But if you put your hand under the ball, it's a pinky under the ball, and turn it, that's called palming. That is a travel, which is 90% of what the NBA calls dribbling these days. So everybody says, people in the NBA can't, people in the NBA so much. It's like, motherfucker, you know how many games I've watched where people in the NBA shouldn't have scored a single point? Shouldn't have scored a single point. Because they calm the ball. WNBA players don't calm the ball as much.
Yes, so.
Okay. WNBA players are much better at that. So I don't see the 3-pointer as a huge deficit. I think what is the rest of her game look like? Because the 3-pointer, can she shoot from 12 to 15? Can she pass the ball? Can she handle the ball? And so forth. But if something I was thinking about when I I was walking today.
Okay, I got something here. This is big news, Joey. Apparently, according to I was figuring out whether she would. I was figuring out if Aaliyah Edwards would come in off the bench for Elena Del Don, but according to ESPN, Elena Del Don, the power forward that led the Mystics to the 2019 WNBA Finals, is expected to take a year off. She's 34. She is a free agent, but so yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, because I was gonna finish my rant with talking about how
this pick doesn't look so bad now. I'm not gonna give Aaliyah Edwards an A+, but I'm probably gonna give it I don't know, A minus. I really don't feel like I'm qualified to grade this pick, but I think it's an interesting situation. They're zooming in on Angel Reese, and the Chicago Sky are up again at 7. Minnesota has the right to swap picks with Chicago in 2025, first-round picks.
Okay.
So.
Okay, Chris, I'm going to help you out a little bit. Yeah, you say you're not qualified to judge that.
I'm not saying.
I've been scouting basketball for 20-some years. So I'll give you a little advice. Like, if you knew in advance that your big star was going to take time off, you would want to find a way to replace that.
The Chicago Sky have just selected Angel Reese. So Angel Reese is heading to Chicago. So the Chicago Sky got Camila Cardoso from South Carolina and Angel Reese. And that's interesting because in the SEC championship, Angel Reese pulled the hair of Camila Cardoso. So now they're teammates in Chicago.
Actually, I love that. There's a couple things. You know those two are ace competitors. Because we were talking about this on Saturday between those two. You know these two, because you said it'd be funny if those two acted together, and it's like, well, guess what, Chris? You know, it's funny, haha.
Yeah, it is funny.
You know, it's, but the fact that you have to realize is you have two people who are so competitive that they would throw swings at each other. Let's face it. I mean, you had people play for each other in the 80s, in the NBA, and against each other, and it's like a little known fact. Larry Bird and Xavier McDaniel, the X-Man, they went at it a few times, jawing back and forth, throwing punches, whatever. They went at it. They were as intense as any two people. In 91-92, who were teammates? Xavier McDaniel, the X-Man, the Sonics back in the late 80s, and Larry Bird. They could do it. Just because you are, and I know that, and another example, Robert Parrish and Michael Jordan. You know, Michael Jordan got fed up with, you know, the second team Bulls beating the first team Bulls, and Robert Parrish says, "Shut up, because I've already beaten you." And he was right. You know, it's like Michael Jordan never beat that Celtics team. It's like, shut up, you never beat me, I already beat you. So on and so forth. And it was competition. So there's this.
The Chicago Sky were supposed to be in a total rebuild, but I credit them for trading up to number 7 because here's the thing. The Sky only had one scorer. Sky only had one scorer with double-digit points. Now you get Cardoso and Angel Reese, and if you hit on both picks, your 3 to 4 year rebuild becomes a 2-year rebuild, essentially.
You're gonna hit on me. I think, as much as I can say, in a WNBA draft, you're going to hit on somebody. I can always guarantee you that. So
they're going to hit on one of those two
now
top 7 picks. If you hit on both of them, and your point guard plays like they did last year, you got 3 quality scorers, and it's just a matter of all the pieces coming together.
Yeah, I am a firm supporter of Reese. As I stated,
Yeah.
just because you're ultra competitive doesn't mean that you can't play together. I mean, that's just the thing. Interesting thing. I'm gonna segue to the '92 Olympics. You had a lot of egos there. You had one interesting pairing was Coach Chuck Daly and Michael George. How would the hated coach versus the hated player, mesh? And Chuck Daly's like, hey, Michael, you want to go play 19 holes? They went out and played 19 holes of golf and everything. And they bonded over the competition of playing golf. And it was all competition. And so if you take competitors and you say, hey, guys, anybody say is going to compete, only compete. And, they're going to find a common enemy. It's like Chuck Daly and, Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley found an enemy on everybody in that dream team. That dream team played against. I mean, they wrote articles about it. Just look them up. And Chuck Daly was fine with it. But that's competition. That brings these guys that will want each other start together.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. These girls will get it together.
It's been a fantastic draft so far. 7 picks in. I think the lowest grade I handed out was an A-. I've handed out 6 A+ and 1 A-. And to be fair, you could argue that's an A or an A+. I would say it's more of an A because of the 3-point shooting, but at the same time, I feel like Angel Reese at 7 was better value than Aaliyah Edwards at 6. But that's just my personal opinion. It could, we'll see how the draft plays out.
You also have to look at it from the perspective of when was the last time I stayed on the call for this home during the WNBA draft. And say, okay, this held his attention for that long.
I mean, Lisa's covered 2 of these drafts when we had the GoDaddy website builder in 2013 and the old code for Draft Utopia in 2015 when we first had the platform up in the...
Well, that could suck. That could suck. I'm glad we upgraded that shit.
Yeah.
That was awful.
The Jewel Lloyd draft. She led the WNBA in points last year, by the way, but that was the 2015 draft. This draft's just been a much more exciting class. And the Minnesota Lynx, their pick is in. Who is going to go 8th overall? Point guard's the big need for the Lynx. Are they going to address that? Are they going to go depth? Alissa Pili, Utah. She can shoot it. And when I say she can shoot it, I mean she was the Pac-12 Player of the Year at USC before transferring to Utah. And she's a heck of a 3-point shooter. I would not be surprised if she had a better career than Aaliyah Edwards. I'm a big fan of Pili. I pointed her out as a dark horse of this draft. And she has been selected by the Minnesota Lynx at number 8.
But she reminds me more of a Steve Kerr or a John Paxson. She doesn't remind me of somebody who is going to really make a huge difference. She reminds me of a high-end role player that will hit a few big shots. But let's face it, I mean, she doesn't
Well, there were two big needs for Minnesota.
I just got distracted by, I think it was Gronkowski throwing out the first pitch of the Red Sox Guardians game, but bouncing it off the turf into his own forehead and then celebrating it. Like, I was kind of thrown off my game by watching that. It's like,
yeah, Minnesota's two biggest needs were point guard and power forward depth. This feels like a power forward depth pick since Minnesota has a power forward that's currently averaging double-digit points per game. They actually have one of the better power forwards in the league. So this feels like a power forward depth pick rather than a day one starter at point guard. That's
okay.
just...
So I just had to add, what was I trying to say? Because that Gronk situation completely threw me off mid-sentence.
You basically were talking about how Alissa Pili, she feels more like a role player than an actual starter. You were on a rant about that before Gronkowski distracted you with his epicness.
Yeah, with his Gronk-type delivery. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. There's some things that you cannot unsee. You know, I'm not saying she's not going to be a great player. Not saying she's not going to be a great player, but great players are not always the people who are recognized. So don't expect.
Pili's a great three-point shooter, but she's a project defensively. But she's an elite three-point shooter. She can take over a game. Do not be fooled by her appearance.
Yeah, you know who else was an elite three-point shooter? John Stockton. Do you know what he got overlooked for? His three-point shooting. Because he's so good at everything else. So, guys, don't think that...
She's also a three-sport athlete, Joey. Alissa Pili, she played three sports, football, wrestling, and basketball growing up. You probably never would have guessed she would have played wrestling growing up.
First-team All-American in all three of those.
I'm not sure.
Was she first-team All-American? Because the only person in the history of American high school sports that was an All-American in three sports, first-team All-American, was Danny Ainge. First-team All-American in football, baseball, and basketball in high school. So, you know, if she's there, it's like, you gotta say, is she first-team?
Well, we have our first surprise pick. Carla Leite, a guard from France, has been drafted by the Dallas Wings at 9. An international player that averaged 18.4 points a game in the FIBA Under Women European Championship for France comes off the board at 9. So that is the first surprise pick at 9.
Yeah, that actually caught me off a little bit. That is not...
I don't hate the pick, but I'm going to have to do more research.
Yeah, it's like, it's not a college that is named for its basketball. Every now and then it has a great basketball player come out of it. Or a great football player come out of it.
Because that's...
What country come from?
France. So Carla Leite came from France.
Okay, then I don't really have much analysis on most WNBA players come from college.
Yeah. There was an international player from Austria that was supposed to be the best international player. So not only was the best international player in this draft passed on at number 9, Carla Leite from France is the pick instead. But She's going to Dallas as a bench player, so she's not starting. She's going to be a bench player.
French player because French players are generally some of the.
And another French player, Leila Lacan.
The best fundamental.
So the French
in the world.
Picks 9 and 10 are both French players. Leila Lacan.
Let's face it, when it comes to French players in professional basketball, Tony Parker has been a big proponent of.
I do have a French flag as the logo that I can use for code. Yeah, it's France.gif. It's a logo of the French flag, so I can use that as my image for picks 9 and 10. I haven't brought that logo back because I actually do research on the French teams that the NBA players play for, but I have not done any research on the French players in the WNBA draft, so I'm going to have to bring back the France flag. I'm sorry if that offends people, but that's all I got for an image. I was not prepared for this.
My thought is French players are generally endorsed by Tony Parker, and they are generally some of the best fundamental players in the world. So, even though I don't know anything about this woman, I gotta say, you've gotta think that she's got an endorsement somewhere from a high-level person, maybe even Tony Parker, and she's probably really good fundamentals.
I agree.
That's the best I can get you.
Yep. And I'm going to type the picks in. I don't know what position. There's got to be yeah, I can't believe I'm using a damn WNBA tracker. I mean, let's see. I don't want to use that. I don't want to use that. Carla Leite. She's a guard from France. And then Leila Lacan. Let's type in yeah, the other player that went to Dallas is a guard, but they didn't specify what position Lacan plays. What position is she? Lacan. She is she's 5'11", so she's a shooting guard on France. So point guard on France gets picked, then the shooting guard on France gets picked. Okay. That at least gives me a little bit to work with. Yeah, since
maybe a small forward, maybe shooting guard, small forward combo in America. So.
Yep. So France getting back-to-back picks at 9 and 10. And there's a player from Syracuse that's third in points in women's basketball behind Kelsey Plum, current wife of Darren Waller, and Caitlin Clark. Those are the top. And then the player from Syracuse in this year's draft, Dyaisha Fair, 5'5". She is third all-time in college basketball in points scored. So, yeah, that is... And then the New York Liberty. Only 2 more picks left in the first round, and the New York Liberty are bringing their mascot out for the pick. The mascot is decided to come out of nowhere. The mascot. So, yeah.
No offense, but the Major League Baseball season is pretty intense right now.
Yeah, the Guardians played the Red Sox at 11 a.m. this morning. Did you tape the game, or are you hearing about it on 92.3 The Fan? Just curious.
Was it fair?
The game. The Guardians beat the Red Sox 6-0. I don't know if you were recording the game.
Hey, don't ruin this. Don't ruin this for me. Come on.
I didn't know you taped the game.
I'm watching it now. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, my bad. I screwed up there.
Oh, shit. Okay. You're good. Oh, shit. Okay, let's go on. Oh.
Interesting. Markeisha Davis from Ole Miss goes to the New York Liberty. And the Liberty already have a good starting five. So
Interesting.
I did not do a lot of research on Davis. 14 points a game at Ole Miss this year. 4.7 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 1.5 steals, 0.7 blocks. I get a point guard vibe with her. I don't know why. But Notre Dame held her to 6 points in the tournament, and she goes number 11 to the New York Liberty.
Yeah, I didn't get a standout superstar vibe from her in a little bit I saw from her, but the
New York Liberty have their starters back, so they can develop her.
From her, I mean, it's like she wasn't bad, so I'm not going to get upset with this eventuality, I guess you could call it. But at the same time, I'm not going to say, she's a bad player because I think she might be a good fit.
Yeah, and she's being drafted as a bench player. She's not going to be starting because the New York Liberty, they have all five starters from last year's WNBA Finals team back. So she's going to be a bench player.
Yeah. From what I saw, she's a better defensive player than all. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So if she's drafted as a bench player to start off with, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, she's getting drafted as a bench player. And then
Sixth man?
Yeah, she's getting drafted as a sixth man, basically. So I like the fit here. I mean, the Liberty, they're a team that can go with the best player on their board because they have a starting five. But hey, this is getting interesting because the Las Vegas Aces have picked 16. So what if the Aces get a first-round player at 16 and they can stash that player on the bench for a year? And then Becky Hammon gets even more star power. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm considering the possibility that it may happen. And I'm only going to...
You've got me for about 4 minutes, so let's see if we can get through the first round.
Yeah, the pick's already in.
The pick's in. All right. Who we got? Sounds like we got Chipmunk.
Yeah, a lot of teams got star players in the top 8. And then the last 4 picks, it feels like it's been last 4 picks, it feels like a mixed bag. But the first 8 picks, it was stars, stars, lots of stars. And then the last 4 picks, it's been a mixed bag. I'm not saying there's been any terrible picks that would warrant a D or an F. I haven't seen anything that bad. But the last 4 picks have been more of a mixed bag than what the consensus projected. And that's not always a bad thing, Joey. If you get the right player, doesn't matter if the consensus disagrees with the pick. Consensus was that Sam Darnold was going to be great and Josh Allen was going to be a bust because he's raw. And Nyadiew Puoch, the Australia player, goes number 12. Oh, I do not have a logo for Australia. You cannot be serious. Oh, boy.
Just put on a ZZ Top logo and put legs underneath it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get an Australia flag logo here, and then yeah, I have to Google the logo for number 12. By the time I get this up on the server, the second round's probably gonna be underway by the time I get this. You know what? I'm going to use this logo of Australia where you can see the country, the continent. No, I can't use that. That's a ping. Man, these logos.
Yeah, no, I'm listening to ZZ Top.
No problem. I'm not.
Anybody with a taste in music will love it.
Yeah. I found Are people gonna get pissed off if I make a kangaroo the logo for pick number 12 since it's the end of the first round? I found a logo that says Australia and has a kangaroo in the background. It's completely random.
It would really depend. Does it have Peter and Kel?
No. No.
Peter and Kel with the kangaroo, when it gets Kangaroo Jack, absolutely everybody gets on.
Okay, I think no.
Yeah, that's put in perspective. I mean, it's a Kangaroo Jack. Kangaroo Jack, we're all good.
Kangaroo Jack. I've seen the movie Kangaroo Jack. It was a great movie, Kangaroo Jack. Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was a good movie.
Well, it really was. It's like, that's what I say. If it is Kangaroo Jack, absolutely, everybody's going to love it. If it's not Kangaroo Jack, it's like, cute enough with not quite hitting the mark. Maybe a Lane Down Under?
Yeah, I'm just looking for a logo of Australia and it's got to be something I can edit too, because or something I can email to myself. Well, let's just Australia logo. This I just didn't.
Can you hear that from me? You better run. You better take cover.
Okay, so Nyadiew Puoch.
Gotta have the rhythm of the logo too. Do you need me to sit here and gyrate for you for your logo, and then put a big continent of Australia in the background?
Oh, that's the men's Australian team, but there's a
You don't want to lose. I know you don't want to lose.
How about this? I found a basketball Australia logo, and there's a kangaroo on the basketball. I literally don't know what else to put. The kangaroo is just blank. There's no eyes. There's no eyes. There's no personality from the kangaroo.
You want to see gyrating with the content in the background. You want to see me gyrate on your website with Australia in your background?
I'm just trying to find in Australia.
I noticed how you expertly just go past that. It's like I did not hear anything. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but hey, gotta have a little bit of entertainment.
You're right. We have to have entertainment. I just don't know what. Let's see. Let's type Australia women's basketball logo and see what comes up on Google. Oh, just players. No actual logos. Just women's basketball players. No actual logos. So, honestly, I don't know what the heck to do here. I feel like I've been stumped.
Just put how about this? Just put the NBA logo, but instead of the NBA outlining, like Jerry West with an Australian continent on the backside, maybe put some long hair, and then you're good. I mean, if we can think of something else next year, we'll have a little bit more time.
I'm at the point where I'm just going to grab an Australian flag, like the France one, crop it, and just go with it.
All right, how about this?
Okay.
How about this? What was the French flag when Napoleon was emperor or whatever he was? I don't think he ever ascended to emperor, but when he was in charge, why not put that there? I mean, that would be a good piece of history.
Yep.
Because remember, Napoleon did a lot of great progressive things for the country. So, maybe, just put a flag from Napoleon over there. On a serious note, that might be good because that would show the progressiveness of the women's basketball in France. It's a nice progressive.
Yep. I'm looking for the Nyadiew Puoch. I can't even Atlanta Dream WNBA Draft. They took Nyadiew Puoch from Australia. Also, we don't really know what. I'm going to look at the image of the team she played for. Nyadiew Puoch from Australia. It just says Australia, and it shows a green Australian jersey from the FIBA tournament. And it looks like Peak is the name of the team. Peak might be the sponsor of the jersey, but the Australian jersey is green.
Yeah.
Let's see. Rangers. Rangers is the team name of the. That's South Women.
Rangers. I'm trying to think. Do they have a logo already? If they already have a logo, I would just use that logo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they already have a logo, I would be better off using that logo.
Because I'm not sure.
The Jaco Flyers. The Jaco Flyers is one of the teams she played for. So we're going to just type in the Jaco Flyers. That's what we're going to go with. This has been...
That works.
Jaco Flyers logo. Logo, please. WNBL, the Jayco Flyers.
I'm only going to be here for a few more minutes, but
I do appreciate the help.
Yeah. WNBA. WNBA thing. It's round 2 pick 13.
Brianna Maxwell from Gonzaga. Brianna Maxwell from Gonzaga. That is an interesting pick. Luckily, I'm only doing the first round of the WNBA draft. Otherwise, I would be a lot more freaked out. I only set up one webpage. I might do 2 rounds next year, but I only set up...
Very nice. She's a shooting guard. 14 points, 1 steal, 44% three. She's a nice defensive player, nice shooter, nice complimentary player. She's from Washington, the Big Harbor, and she's a senior. And she's pretty easy on the eyes, so she should fit really well into that team. And hopefully she'll break the heart of her opponent every night.
Yep, so let's try the Southside Flyers.
6 foot tall. So she's 6 foot tall, so she's, by women's standards, she might also be, she's a shooting guard, but she might also be able to play a little bit of small forward. So, and as a defensive player and a wing, she could be a big player, big time player for teams because of that. Like, NBA teams always look for those dual swings that can do everything, and you know how they often fail.
Oh, yes, I finally found a logo for the Southside Flyers, and there's a crown on the logo. There's wings on the flyer, there's wings on the F, there's a wing on the F, and there's a crown on the logo. There's a crown on the letter, like the letter's the King of England or something. Yeah,
Australia was a prison colony, so...
Yeah, the logo looks like a member of the royal family. It's really cool.
I don't know what the crown would signify, because that would be a really dark time. And
well, I couldn't find any other logos, so this is what I'm going with. Joey does not prove that he's not responsible for my actions, but
we'll go with it.
All right.
Yeah,
that took 20 minutes. That was a challenge. That was like a Where's Waldo puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how many bad jokes did I go through while you were doing that? Like, geez.
And Nika Mole out of Connecticut. Nika Mole, who averaged 6 points.
Very good pick. Very good pick. I really like this from Croatia. I know she didn't score a lot, but I really like the way she passed and her overall shooting percentage. And she has a point guard, 5'11". She's a little on the taller side for a point guard in the WNBA, so I like that. Croatia is a great basketball state. I remember as far back as Tony Kukoc and how the Bulls tried for 4 years running him to the United States after drafting him.
The leading scorer on the Chicago Sky is a second-round pick.
Player in Europe.
Yeah, the leading...
Very good player.
She is. The leading scorer on the Chicago Sky is a second-round pick, so there is zero shame in being picked in the second round. Sometimes that can work to your advantage in the right fit, right team situation.
Honestly, I don't think she would be the biggest scorer,
I'm referring.
More at the line of if I had to guess, more of a Ron Harper.
Yep.
A person who facilitates well, a person who passes, defends well. If you ask her to score 20 points a game, she can. But her big contributions overall are probably going to be that. If you remember, Ron Harper was a perennial 20 points per game scorer with the.
Yeah, but I'm saying you look at Mariana Mabry. She was a point guard on the Chicago Sky last year. She's the leading scorer returning the Chicago Sky. She was actually third on the Sky in points, but she's the leading scorer on the Chicago Sky returning, Mariana Mabry. And she was a second-round pick. So that's the lesson here.
I'm talking about the new from,
Connecticut.
Number 14 pick, Mule.
Yeah. I'm just throwing that. I'm throwing Mabry out there because if you're a second-round pick like Mule, you could end up like Mabry if you work hard. That's what I'm getting at.
You could, yeah. It's like I just see her more as, I know I compare these ladies to men, but that's what I scout for the majority of my life. That's why.
There's Charisma Osborne is still on the board.
I'm sorry if I offend anybody.
Yeah, Charisma Osborne is still on the board.
That's what I know.
She was number 6 in my mock and Lisa's mock. Charisma Osborne out of UCLA. She's still available at this spot. The Aces could get her, or they could get Elizabeth Kitley, another player that had a first-round grade.
The Fever at 15, the Aces at 16, the Liberty at 17, and the Aces back on the clock at 18.
Yep.
So that's your next 5 picks.
Yeah. I'm only going to be posting like write-ups on the first round. I'm not going to be posting anything else for the second round. I'm just watching casually for fun to see if any of the players I mocked in round 1 fall to round 2 and end up being really good value picks.
Look, this is for us.
This is my first time watching. We're hoping it's a renaissance.
Either way, it's fun.
It is fun. I mean, I watched the Women's Soccer League draft on Ion. I had a blast watching that draft. It was only 4 rounds.
Luckily, we have not watched this much women's basketball in a long time.
Celeste Taylor.
The fact that we know anything about these players is huge, and the fact that these women are so close to breaking out in the professional sports league is incredible. And next pick, number 15, Celeste Taylor.
She was the number 2 scorer on Ohio State.
Valley to New York, 10 points, 3.5 assists, 2.5 steals. Big time defender.
She complimented Jacy Sheldon quite well. Jacy Sheldon was the main scorer on Ohio State, but Taylor complimented her and won the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year award. So, really nice job here.
She's going to be a huge impact player defensively. I'm not sure what the first assist numbers will look like because college assists and professional assists are.
Well, Kelsey Taylor went to Ohio State. I wonder if Kelsey Taylor had some input because Kelsey Taylor averaged 19.2 points per game at shooting guard for the Indiana Fever last year. I'm wondering if Kelsey Taylor, a former Ohio State alumnus, had some input on that pick because you're going to have Kelsey Taylor, Aaliyah Boston, last year's number 1 pick, and Caitlin Clark as those 3 signature star players. And you have some other scorers that can average 9.9 points a game or more. But you add Celeste Taylor, she can play defense well off the bench. I really like what the Liberty are doing. I mean, the Fever, not the Liberty, the Fever. Indiana's positioning themselves as a challenger to the Liberty down the road. I don't know if they get there year one, but I think they're positioning themselves.
Yeah. It's like, I do as well. Celeste Taylor looks like somebody who, honestly, I think she may be a steal. Because she looks and carries herself like a first-round prospect.
Yeah, Fair averaged 22.3 points per game. She's still on the board. So is Kitley and Osborne. But I agree with you on her. She looks like a steal. I think Caitlin Clark's happy about the pick too, so that's good. Or is she just being interviewed about being number one, and they're just showing her for Yeah, Kelsey Plum was the last pick by the San Antonio Stars, and then they got Aja Wilson when they relocated to Las Vegas, and then Jackie Young, and having all those number one picks, and then getting Becky Hammond on top of it was a big reason why the Aces repeated. They've got one more year. Then all 5 starters become UFAs. And I don't know if there's a salary cap in play, but I do think that's interesting.
Yeah,
So Puoch can play both forward and center. So yeah. So I'm going to project her as a power forward, but Puoch can play forward and center. Atlanta does need a center, so I'm guessing she would play center at 6'3", but she might be more of a power forward with that frame. But yeah, once the Aces pick, I think we're going to sign off because I pretty much have the pick. I pretty much have the news ticker typed. Yeah. I'm just in the process of getting the write-up on the site. And then once all 12 write-ups are up, I'll show our audience the write-ups on the live stream one more time quickly, like a quick rundown. And then I'm probably going to sign off because I haven't even started round 5 of my NFL mock draft yet. I got the picks updated, like I got the film cuts updated, but I haven't really gotten a chance to start that yet.
Well, Chris, like I've been telling you for years, if you've been ignoring me, have a little more fun. The love of crap, why are you coming tonight? Why are you coming? Everybody have fun. Everybody wang chong. Oh, come on.
Everybody have fun tonight. I used to be in chorus, but I don't come across a high energy guy. But I think it's just about confidence. It's about confidence and rhythm. That's really all there is to singing. And the vocal tonality, too. That's important as well. But
Okay, I dare you to do that sometime. Please don't.
I won't. Yeah, we're going to scare our audience. People are going to come in the chat room and asking us if this is Draft Utopia or Karaoke Utopia. Karaoke Utopia does sound fun, though. But yeah.
I was a karaoke king for many years, and I just got worse as my vocal cords went right down the toilet. So, you know, it probably wouldn't be a very good thing to have karaoke utopia. Even though I was a KJ, which is a karaoke DJ. So I wasn't an assistant karaoke DJ. So I could actually do it. This wouldn't be a good idea to karaoke people.
Yeah, weren't you Hunter? Were you Hunter's assistant when you were a DJ, karaoke DJ?
Back when I was in Ohio, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do it once a week, sometimes twice, depending on the news. And, I would just go through and I would work with him on that. So, yeah. We got Dyaisha Fair, guard, and Charisma Osborne went before the Dyaisha Fair.
Yeah, Kitley, Osborne, those and Fair are all players that Lisa and I both had going in the first round. Rickea Jackson's the fourth player. So there's at least 4 more players from our box still on the board midway through the second round.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's a really nice draft. It's a really nice.
Perfect. Just finished.
Really think these two. I think these women are really going to elevate the WNBA. I think, quite frankly, the top 15 picks in the WNBA draft are better than the last 2 first rounds of the NBA draft.
I agree with that entirely. I have 0 regrets about tonight. I had a lot of fun. I did not think I would have this much fun covering women's basketball. I think I had more fun in this year's WNBA draft than the last 3 NBA drafts combined from 2021 to 2023. And 2 of those 3 drafts were good drafts.
I would say Angel Reese's picture looks like something out of the WWE. I mean, it's like, who did that picture? It's one thing to pose like that, but for the picture to have that type of meaning behind it, she looks like she's going to come into the WWE and win the women's championship within the next 2 months. I mean, that was a hell of a picture they had going for her.
Well, those Bulls-Pacers rivalries with Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller were big back in the day. Now it's the next generation. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, Indiana, Chicago for the WNBA.
I hope so. That remember, everybody says Michael Jordan doesn't do Game 7. Guess who pushed Michael Jordan to Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals? Larry Bird coaching the Indiana Pacers with Reggie Miller as shooting guard. So, I mean, let's just be fair. If you're going to put that on them, Reggie Miller and Michael Jordan, you're going to have to put the head coach in there too, because Michael Jordan never beat Larry Bird.
And, this is unfair. The Las Vegas Aces just got Dyaisha Fair. She is the player Tanya told Lisa about today. And Fair averaged 22.3 points per game, 3rd in all-time scoring, trailing only Kelsey Plum and Caitlin Clark in women's scoring. She started out at Buffalo and then transferred to Syracuse the last 2 years. This was the player Lisa told me about today. So, yeah.
I mean, modern day Spud Webb, 5'5", and able to score, rebound, and a good defender. I mean, come on, that is a modern day Spud Webb coming into the WNBA. And Spud Webb was a starter and a 6th man for many years on the Atlanta Hawks. So, I mean, let's face it, they even won a game against the 86 Celtics behind Webb and Dominique Wilkins. So, I mean, and that was an uphill climb to just win a single game in the playoffs. So, I do really like this pick. I love people who are underdogs. You know that anybody who listens to this podcast knows that I love underdogs. She is somebody who is an underdog who has the chance to be a real star.
Agreed.
So I love this pick.
Wow, 64 people on the live stream, 63 on Twitter, and 1 on Twitch. Thank you guys so much. I mean, just for that, I feel like I have to stay for the end of the second round. I mean, I've already got my picks and grades typed up, but our audience has been so good to me that I feel guilty about ending.
Some of my idiocy. I mean, how many of them here were there for my idiocy, when I was trying to...
We had 43 people on the call when you arrived. So we've had 21 new listeners since you have arrived. So
I'm either a very big draw or
I can't take all the credit. I can only take 2/3 of it. I think Joey's rants brought in 1/3 of our audience. But if I'm wrong, please let us know in the comments section, or don't let us know, and we'll keep you on the edge of your seat.
But it has Fair as a shooting guard at 5'5". Small ass shooting guard.
Yeah, she's small, but she can hit shots.
She ends up actually fitting into the lineup because she's a point guard. I thought.
Here's the thing. A website today projected that the WNBA draft would get higher ratings than the MLB and NHL drafts. Heading into today, the WNBA draft was projected to get 1.4 million viewers. The MLB draft only got 714,000, and the NHL draft only got like 653,000 viewers. So the WNBA draft is projected to get nearly double the audience that the NHL draft got. Mark thinks it's part of...
This is a player that I thought had first-round potential at 18. She goes from Iowa, Kate Martin.
Caitlin Clark's teammate at Iowa. She gets picked.
She was good. I thought she was a small forward, but she is projected as a shooting guard. Senior from Iowa. I think that's a great fit on their 6 foot tall. Potentially play 2, maybe even 3 positions. Based on power forward, based on skill set. So I think that's a great pick. What do you think about that?
I like that pick. Kate Martin, she was one of the top 3 scorers on Iowa. Her nickname is the Glue. I think that's a great nickname. So that means she must be a heck of a defender, heck of a presence in the low post. I don't know where that term, the Glue, came from, but I do think it's a cool nickname.
Yeah, that's a thing. Interesting nickname. Agreed. Next few picks, Sun from Minnesota, the Dream, the Mystics, the Agalas, and then the Sun again. Any prediction you have there, Chris?
Connecticut Sun need a center. They could still get Elizabeth Kitley, the Virginia Tech center that Lisa and I mocked to the Connecticut Sun at 10. They could still get her, and they also acquired Tiffany Mitchell and the 19th pick in a trade with the Lynx. So,
Yeah, because that's the next pick is the 19th from the Sun.
This pick originally belonged to the Minnesota Lynx. They traded it away. So I do think it's an interesting situation. Mackenzie Forbes, a player on USC's Elite 8 team, is still on the board. I think Osborne and Jackson should be long gone. I mean, most consensus WNBA mocks had those players going in the top 12, but I'm guessing WNBA teams fell a little differently. And those teams either have some intel they like or dislike about the players, but they're keeping it a secret and just enjoying the draft.
And what do you think about the number 19 overall pick at Free Martinez?
I think Kitley should be the pick here. Connecticut does need a center, but the pick is in. Tayana Jackson from Kansas. I had her going number 12 in my final mock today. In my second to last mock, I had her going 11th. But Tayana Jackson, double-digit points, double-digit rebounds per game. Only other player outside of Camila Brink to do that this year. So Tayana Jackson, it's a good value pick for Connecticut at 19.
Yeah, I actually expected her to go a lot earlier, so I was happy to do this. What are you going to pick?
Yep.
This is housing chipmunks again.
Yes, so Tayana Jackson, really nice value pick there.
They're just gnawing through the nut.
Helena Pueyo at Arizona goes number 20th.
That's interesting.
The Liberty, see, these picks are just flying in. I think it's at the point where, yeah, there's a hockey game at 9:30 on ESPN, so we only have 13 minutes left.
I saw her as a role player, but I didn't see her as anything special in this draft. So, but at the same time, the New York Liberty were practically ready to roll. So a role player is not really a bad pick at this point.
The two teams that have good starting fives are the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces. So if they want to load up on role players, they can have at it with all the role players. They can load up on those role players.
That's basically my thought. A role player was room to grow. Hey, you've got your lineup set. You've got everything ready to go. Hey, you know what? This is your time to pick your role player.
Yeah, the picks are flying in, Joey, and I think part of the reason that is because there is an NHL game set to air on ESPN between the Minnesota Wild and LA Kings at 9:30 at the Crypto.com arena. So that's probably why the picks have been flying in the last few minutes. Jessica Carter,
there are only three picks left. So.
Actually, there's only one pick left. 19 through 23 has been announced.
Okay, what's 23?
The New York Liberty took they showed a screenshot of all the picks. But yeah. Elizabeth Kitley to the Aces at 24. So the Las Vegas Aces, even though they didn't have a first round pick, I thought they did very well considering what they got. They got Fair, they got Caitlin Clark's teammate, and they got Elizabeth Kitley, who would have been a top 10 pick if she hadn't torn her ACL. And you can see she's walking up to the podium on crutches, Kitley, as she's been picked by the Las Vegas Aces at 24. And look, the Aces did pretty well. They got a point guard for depth, they got a shooting guard for depth, and they got a center for depth. Now, obviously, they're probably going to prioritize Aja Jackson and Kelsey Plum. If they can only keep two of their five starters, I'm guessing Aja Jackson, who led the team in points per game, and Kelsey Plum, the wife of Darren Waller, would be the two players they'd prioritize. But that's a different conversation for another day.
For Kitley, because he's probably one of the best players in the country. Got a really bad break. And when she comes back, because let's face it, I've talked about it before. I was just talking with my sister about medical advancements with knee surgery. We're talking about the eventual knee replacement I'm probably going to end up having to have.
Kitley led the country with 6 games with 30 points and 10 rebounds. So Kitley was the only. Kitley had the most games in the country with 30 points and 10 rebounds before her injury. She had the most with 6. So.
But my thought is, for a basketball player, by the time she's back, she will be 100%. She will be 100%. And the last pick in the draft. 100%.
Actually, the WNBA draft is 3 rounds. The WNBA draft is 3 rounds, but I'm guessing ESPN is only going to air the first 2 rounds since they have an NHL game set to air in 8 minutes. I would think that would be what. But if they do air some picks, great. If they don't, we're just going to sign off because got everything covered. We're just having fun.
Get ready for work anyway. So the first 2 rounds,
you got through 2 rounds of a 3-round draft, Joey. I'll give Joey a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I did not anticipate you still being on the call after the first 2 rounds, but here we are. If I do get any leaked picks in the next 8 minutes, I will leak those. Otherwise, we're going to sign off because I'm getting ready to.
And I will say that this was probably the best WNBA draft that I have seen, that I've been a part of, that I knew enough about that I could comment on the majority of the players and the situations going on and bring something into it. So this was a great draft. It was a great draft to cover. And once again, I feel so good for Elizabeth Ketley that she was able to make it into the first 2 rounds because she is such a talented player. And she definitely deserves it.
Yeah, and the Aces are one of my winners of this draft.
Should be ready for training camp.
Honestly, I think the Sparks, the Fever and the Sparks are my 2 big winners. But I would argue my 3rd big winner of this draft is, well, you could make an argument for the Sky as well. The Sky with Cardoso and Angel Reese. You can make an argument for them, but I love what the Aces did. You can't tell me the Las Vegas Aces didn't have one of the top 5 or 6 drafts when looking at every pick in the first 2 rounds. I thought they got incredible value where they were picking. And it's going to be up to those players to develop under Becky Hammond, if the Vegas Aces want to keep winning titles, because all 5 starters in the Aces are UFAs after this season. So your entire starting lineup, that's right. So this is a huge draft for the Aces for that reason, because if you hit on these picks, now your rebuild's not as tedious if all 3 players come in and dominate. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying it's something to take into consideration here.
Yeah. So, you know what, guys? I got to go. But it's a great 2 rounds. So, you guys have a great night.
That was Joseph Potter. I'm Chris Ransom. We're signing off on TalkShoe. And I will stay on Restream until 9:30. I guess I can go through the picks again, but, the WNBA draft for the most part is over. Pretty fun draft to cover, break down. I had a lot of fun. I'm probably going to make our WNBA draft results page 2 rounds next year. Maybe I'll just keep it at 1, but with the 13th team set to enter the league, I'm thinking, we'll see. We'll see what happens here because this was a lot of fun. But yeah, one more time, I will scroll through the picks here because they're going to start round 3 of the WNBA draft, but I believe ESPN's only going to air the first 2 rounds. And maybe they'll air 1 or 2 picks in the 3rd round. And yeah, because Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Cameron Brink. Okay, so the Phoenix Mercury are in fact making a pick. Glad I didn't sign off on Restream. And Charisma Osborne to the Phoenix Mercury. So Charisma Osborne does get picked by the Mercury here in round 3. I really like this pick because she can play shooting guard next to Taurasi and Griner. This is a really nice value pick here by the Phoenix Mercury. Charisma Osborne, she was a 2-time Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. I actually mocked her at number 6 in my final mock. I had her at number 7 in the mock on Saturday's podcast. So I will stick around until 9:30 on Restream, but I am going to start the mock as soon as ESPN pivots to and I'm guessing they will air maybe 1 or 2 more picks, but then they're going to pivot over to the game. Because I'm guessing ESPN wants to air that Wild Kings game at 9:30. But yeah, really good pick there. And yes, so I guess they are going to air the game. So I guess the WNBA draft, they're going to finish it and then jump into the King Wild game. What time is that game set to start? Oops, almost dropped my mic. It's supposed to start at 9:30. Puck drop is scheduled for 9:30, but basically all the star players pick is in. Are we going to get a 28 pick? Seattle Storm. I don't even know any of the players left at this point. Most of the players that went in round 1 fell to round 2. Mackenzie Holmes out of Indiana. All right, not bad. Indiana Fever pick is in. Basically, they're just leaking whatever picks they can between now and Lalani Coria, Florida. She ends up going at 28. Basically, they're going to leak as many picks as they can, and then they're going to go to the NHL. Like a lightning round type pick. Mackenzie Forbes, USC, goes to the LA Sparks. Here in round 3, the final round. But really good drafting by not just teams in the first round, but teams in the second round as well. Phoenix Mercury. Nate Tibbetts is named head coach. Mercury select Jazz Shelley from Nebraska. Washington Mystics select Nyadiew Puoch from Belgium. Minnesota Lynx, Kiki Jefferson from Louisville. Atlanta Dream at 32. 26 through 31, they're showing the third round picks, and they're flying in. And then 32 through 36. It does feel like a lightning round here. Are they going to show the final 5 picks of the draft? Or the final 6 picks? 32, 33, 34, 35. Are they going to show those final 5 picks of the draft? Because, yeah. So 7 picks have been made, 5 more to go. Are they going to show those, or are they going to go to the Kings game? I'm kind of curious to see what ESPN's going to do here, because it's 9:32, and you would think they're going to go to the hockey game pretty soon. So I'll stay on the live stream until then. But again, it feels like the ESPN's going to cut away from this and go to the NHL game. And hey, they got 31 of the 36 picks in. So yeah. But yeah. 32. They're still in a commercial for the WNBA draft. And I'm guessing that they will go to the NHL, but they might just fast forward, super speed all the picks. I would never do a 3-round WNBA draft. I don't follow enough college basketball to comment on it. Matilda Villa from Italy goes 32nd. 4 more picks, and then we're done with this draft stream for the WNBA draft. It was a lot of fun. I did not think I would have this much fun breaking this down. Ashley Owusu, Penn State, goes to the Dallas Wings at 33. Abby Husu from Columbia. Angel Jackson from Jackson State goes to the Las Vegas Aces. Is that pick 33 or is that pick 36? I think that might be the last pick in the draft. But yeah, they're announcing the picks during the commercials. Everybody's getting up out of their seats. And yeah, that is the final pick in the draft. I can't believe we did it. We made it through the draft stream. But yeah, the Fever play the Connecticut Sky, and then you have the Aces hosting the Mercury, and then the 2 ABC games you have May 18th, Fever versus the Liberty, and then Angel Jackson's the Mrs. Irrelevant. You have the Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL. I guess Angel Jackson would be the Mrs. Irrelevant, the Miss Irrelevant. All right, but yeah, thank you guys so much. Matilda Villa, Ashley Wosu, Abby Hasu, Caitlin Davis to the Liberty, and Angel Jackson, the Washington Mystics, to wrap up this draft. My name is Chris Ransom. I want to thank the 65 Twitter users on X and the 1 Twitch user for sticking around until the end. That's going to do it for this 2024 WNBA Draft. See you on Saturday, where we will break down the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, and the NFL mock draft. As much of it as I can get done between now and Saturday. My name is Chris Ransom.